Welcome back into another episode of Rock Boys Football. We apologize for the lack of content in the last couple of days. Moving down to Nashville was a little bit busy, but we are back with some content for you guys. And we are going to be talking about the defending Big Ten champs, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Just today, there's been some really big news. Quinn Ewers has officially decided to skip his last year of eligibility in high school and will enroll with the Ohio State Buckeyes, competing for a spot to start for them this fall.
Who would have thought that the NIL would ultimately be the demise of high school football?
That's what we're seeing,
Not
right?
me, but I wonder if this will be a continuing trend.
I think it will be. I think it has to be.
I am right with you. Like, what's the point of these guys playing their senior year of high school at this point? So yeah, I mean, but just moving on from that's an interesting idea, but obviously not important right now, although it is important at Ohio State because they are replacing a top tier quarterback in Justin Fields. So that is a monster question, obviously. Like CJ Stroud, very talented. Quinn Ewers, probably even more so. So
they're gonna have good options.
He's gonna have a crack to play for sure. He will.
And Kyle McCord and Jack Miller are also one of the things that's worth noting is there's four with the addition of Quinn Ewers. There's four very, very good options for the Ohio State Buckeyes for their quarterback this fall. But it's worth noting that zero of those four has thrown a pass in college football, in their college football careers. That's got to be like a record for like a team like Ohio State that's a top 5 team
really.
Consensus. And so the experience isn't there, and we'll see. They get going pretty quick. They have Oregon week 2, so they better have their guys getting ready to go and playing good football. But yeah, nonetheless, that is a pretty crazy development in the national college football this year. So, I mean, getting into it at quarterback, I would give the edge to CJ Stroud still. I mean, although he doesn't have the arm talent that Quinn Ewers has, everybody's seen Quinn Ewers just spin it. And it's just, as a Michigan fan, it's crazy and unfortunate sighting. But I think CJ Stroud has the experience. He's been in the system of Ryan Day's offense, probably has the most amount of chemistry, having played spring ball with all those guys. So I would still think CJ Stroud plays, but Quinn Ewers will have his time, no doubt about it. Regardless of who,
he's going to give him a run because he is going to walk in there as the most talented guy. And I don't know that he runs the way like maybe Stroud runs, but in terms of throwing, it does appear that his arm is
crazy good.
Could be as good as anyone's I've ever seen in the high school ranks. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to have his crack. It'll be interesting. I don't think you never know with these quarterbacks, and Ohio State's been very fortunate in the past few years having very steady play there, especially with Justin Fields kicking it up a notch, in my opinion. So they're going to have to replace him, and they have some talent, but I really don't see it getting Justin Fields like production this year from any of them. So,
yeah, I think whoever they go with at quarterback is going to have one of the easier jobs in college football. Let's just go right to probably the most talented wide receiver room in the country, more talented than Bama. I mean, you got
one of the more talented you've ever seen for sure.
Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson they're probably one of the better duos we've seen in college football, like dating back to someone like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Smith and legit stars.
These guys are probably on my rankings the 2 top prospects in the 2022 NFL draft.
And I think they complement each other, which is a little rare in college football because like Olave is he's not exactly a take the top off the defense, but just an ultra solid possession guy who is open all the time, especially on the shorter and intermediate routes. Granted, it's not to say he can't go get it deep because he definitely can, but Garrett Wilson, a little bit more of that deep contested catch, big play guy. So, I mean, they both can do the basics, but they both maybe have complementary skill sets in that regard.
Yeah. And I mean, and then you have some young guns with
Fleming's going to be a star.
Julian Fleming is a first-year recruit. Jackson Smith, Nijigba, and then Emeka Agbuka. Those guys are all young, but just dummy talented.
And I think you've seen Julian Fleming and Smith and Jigba in particular. You've seen a little bit from both those players. So I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting moving forward.
Let's add one of the better receiving tight ends in Jeremy Rucker coming back. So this is just an extremely talented pass catching group. I will say the running back room at Ohio State might be one of the more overrated that we've seen. I mean, everybody's gassing on Master Teague like he's some sort of – I saw him a first-round pick in one of the mocks. I mean, Master Teague is not that good. I mean, he's big, and apparently he's pretty fast for his size, but dude has absolutely no shake. Like, he can't change direction for anything. He gets in the open field and tries to set up a safety, and he just can't do it. Is he maybe good between the tackles because he's big and strong? Yeah, maybe, but that's about it. He's not that good of a running back, in my opinion. And we'll see who. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't really. I mean, he probably will get the lion's share of the carries, but I don't think he's that great.
I mean, they seem to love him at Ohio State for whatever reason. He's taken all like Trey Sermon's carries, who was the far superior back in my mind. So
that was crazy that he wasn't getting touches.
We'll see. Again, it seems like a position Ohio State should have some real talent at based on the way they've recruited and the way I think the running back recruiting works, which I think they generally
towards the younger guys on that depth chart, but like it just doesn't matter if Master Teague's getting 15 to 20 carries a game. So
he seems like he's going to be their bell cow. So I am with you. It's not a great guy, and the flip into that offensive line, although they have two stars at tackle, I'd say, especially Thayer Munford, who I think is an underrated tackle. For me, he's not quite athletic as you probably want.
That's probably why he came back.
A top tier lefty, but
he's coming back as a fifth-year senior. So if he was more athletic, I think he would have already been gone. That to say, he's one of the best tackles coming back with a great amount of experience. And then obviously the guy on the other side, Nicholas Petit-Frere, is also. That's probably the best tackle duo we see in the country too right now.
Yeah, it's a really good group.
Interior line has some question marks, and we saw that against Clemson. But in my mind, especially in the Big Ten, like I don't think they'll be challenged too much. It's kind of easy to find guys to plug and play at that guard spot. I know. Dale,
I think you'd think that, but it's like when you watch them play Indiana, they were very much troubled, and I think overmatched for a good chunk of that game. Giving up a fair amount of sacks, especially on that inside. And that's not a wildly talented defensive line that Indiana has. And obviously when you go and bang with the guys from Clemson, they're lucky those wideouts are stars and Justin Fields is really good. But they do struggle to deal with guys inside, and they're going to have to fix that center spot because last year they could barely get clean snaps when
he was dribbling at
the starter wasn't in. So it's like, those are all monster problems. I do think it could very well prove to be an issue for them this year, and we'll see if they can plug it in.
I think if you were to tell me like where do you want your biggest issue being, if it was interior offensive line would probably be the thing I choose, or running back. So and in my mind the more important positions: quarterback, wide receiver, tackles.
What we're going to see at Ohio State is, can a new quarterback come in and gel with that offensive line
Absolutely.
that, in addition to not being wildly talented, did struggle with blitzes. I think notably they struggled greatly against Indiana, and they just weren't picking them up on that inside. So that's when you're bringing in, going from a quarterback with the experience Fields has to the experience of potentially a Quinn Ewers, who has no college experience. Like
CJ Stroud doesn't either.
We're gonna see if they can make that work, and that is a super important part of football, and how you can communicate and pick up blitzes. And when you have a center who's not comfortable there, which I think Harry Miller did not appear to be last year, so we'll see what that. I mean, I do think you're kind of poo-pooing. Like they're gonna need to play far better in that interior than they did last year.
No, I guess you're right. I maybe don't mean to understate the problem there. I don't want any of the viewers to think that I think this offense won't be very good, because I really do think this offense will be really good. And
I'll sit on the other side. I think they have big questions, and
They have big questions.
See if they score like they scored last year, which I don't see. But
I think I could be a good quarterback at Ohio State this year. And I throw the ball. I can't throw a football.
Oh, yeah, no doubt you could.
Dude, I just throw it to Garrett Wilson, and he'll make everybody miss. That's just a straight up. He'll be
You
open,
live
and
in
I'll throw
a
it to him.
fantasy land. There's no Calvin Johnson on that team. They're good wideouts, but they're not Julio Jones at his peak in Alabama.
We'll see. I think Ohio State's going to be very, very good. I quite
We
frankly
will see.
think they'll win the Big Ten, unfortunately. But hey, we'll see. Still got a lot of football to play. Still got quarterbacks who haven't really taken stance. So let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, where I think more of the question marks for this football team lie. I think your D-line's good. Let's start up with Zach Harrison's very good. Haskell Garrett's very good. And then you have some young guys, Jack Sawyer, and who's the guy who just committed the other week?
The Tuavasio or something. Yeah, it's a hard name to pronounce, but I know what you're talking about.
They're talented. I mean, Tyreek Smith as well. I mean, it's a really deep defensive line. Has a lot of guys who can play, and it's a lot of guys who are all. I mean, Haskell Garrett, I think, is a first-team All-American. So
again, they're gonna have to replace their best guy and most disruptive was probably Togiai, and you could maybe make the case it was followed by Cooper. So I don't think that unit it was extremely good last year, in my opinion. I'm not sure it's going to be as good this year because I think Zach Harrison has potential, but he really didn't play at a super high level last year. And if he did, he would have played. He played very little last year. So that has to be a little bit concerning. But
you can just say that. It's fine.
Yeah, that was.
Can you hear me back?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, you can just tell me. All I'm saying is that the D line, although they lost some of their top contributors, is also extremely talented. And I don't think we need to. I am not too worried about that unit being very good this year as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll tell you what unit I think I worried about. I think a lot of Ohio State fans, even if you're a homer Ohio State fan, you have to be worried about this linebacking unit. I mean, overall in the defense, you lose P. Warner, you lose Tuff Borland, you lose Justin Hilliard, you lose Baron Browning. I mean, those are your four linebackers who played almost every snap for you last year, and they're all gone. On top of that, Sean Wade. I mean, those are your six leading tacklers are five leading tacklers, are all gone. I mean, that's a lot of production to replace on that side of the ball, especially at a position that is relatively important, and the whole unit is gone. And so you have a lot of young guys who are going to need to step up and show that they can play. They've recruited well, obviously, but that's a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball.
And they're going to need. I agree with you. Is when you have to fill four spots with four guys who were fairly all pros, pretty much. So you are going to have to replace some production, and that was a solid unit for them. And if we look at their back end, you have massive questions. Last year was not a good unit, and I don't see how it's necessarily going to be better this year. So,
the corner. I mean, Sean Wade. Obviously, every Ohio State fan knows the struggles Sean Wade had, and I don't think anybody really can explain it that well. It was just kind of a weird. He went from. Well, I think you explained it by he went kind of from that nickel spot
out of his position.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, he wasn't just bad. He was he was exposed on almost every single game. It was. Not sad to see, but it was just it was literally tough to see it at that Alabama game. He just couldn't hang.
It was tough to watch him all year. He couldn't cover Jahan Dotson at Penn State.
Sevyn Banks is a guy that I think a lot of people in the draft community are excited about. Long, good athlete. He also didn't play particularly well when you watch him on film. It's not like that's a guy who's he's a first round pick. And so, what we're left with is just a bunch of guys who could be good, but they haven't showed it yet. And so we're
but I think you go a step forward of having showed good. They haven't even really shown decent play. I think that secondary was horrible last year.
Yeah, they gave
I
up
think they were
300.
giving up a ton of big plays to
They almost
everybody.
gave up 300 to Nebraska. They gave up 300 to Penn State. They gave up 300 to Rutgers. They gave up 300 to Indiana. And they gave up 200 to Michigan State.
And they
which
weren't
sucks.
taking the ball away either. So it's like just the big issue. I don't think they tackle well. I watched the Northwestern and Indiana game. I thought their safeties didn't tackle, and that allowed some big plays in the run. So it's like, I just think you have a group that was really poor last year, and then you're going to have to lose, even though he wasn't a great player, their best guy. So it's like, I really think this unit's going to struggle mightily if I had to guess this year, just because I don't see how it's going to be better. And it was, in my opinion, quite bad last year. So,
Yes. I mean, I guess you'd have to define struggle. Like,
what do you think is struggle? Like, how could you talk anything else besides struggle on that unit?
define struggle as are they not a top 20? Are they going to be a liability? I mean,
that deep backfield or the defensive
secondary
backfield? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they're going to be a huge
I
liability.
thought you were talking about the defense as a whole there. That's my bad.
I think it'll be it. Do you think it was a good year? I don't think they played great defense last year.
They won because
they scored.
Yeah, they scored. They outscored.
And when they couldn't score, I mean, I get that Alabama was awesome last year, but they didn't show a moment of being even competitive in terms of stopping them.
Yeah.
Even without Devontae Smith.
Even the Clemson game, they gave up almost 400 yards to the I was a little off. They gave up 400 yards through the air against Clemson. They gave up 400.
I think you had some drops in that game. I think Trevor Lawrence didn't play as good as I've seen him go along with that offensive line playing really poorly. So yeah, I don't see it being a good unit. I don't think it was a good unit last year. And I think the only place they might kind of plateau is that defensive line, but I don't have as much confidence in it. So
that begs the question, like, look at their schedule, pull it up. What do you think? How do you think Ohio State does this year? Projected record, ceiling, and floor for that team.
I mean, just by the fact that it's tough to say any team in the Big Ten is really they're gonna come in as a big favorite, is kind of what I'm saying, and every team in that Big Ten. Now I could see them dropping a game if somebody can score with them.
Who drops? Where do they drop the game?
I mean, who knows? They played Indiana very tough last year.
I think
Indiana can come in. Yep. I'm not in love with the Indiana team this year, but I think who knows if they can just recreate what they did last year in terms of the ability to put points up and throw the ball and make plays in the air, which was a huge problem for Ohio State. So I could see that. I mean, just as a fan, I'm going to say Michigan's going to have a shot at them this year. I think if we can get good quarterback play out of somebody, of course, I'll never say we don't. Oregon will be an interesting game. I don't love Oregon though. It's like Oregon's a name, but I don't love what they have.
Let me tell you why I have Oregon. I have Oregon circled. They play that tune-up game against Minnesota, who actually might sneaky be not bad. I mean, they were horrible last year, but that was kind of a confusing year for them. They might not be as bad, so that'll be tricky. But Oregon, if you're going to beat this Ohio State team, it's because you're going to capitalize on some inexperience at some important positions like the center spot and like the quarterback spot. You get CJ Stroud or Quinn Ewers or whoever is trotting out week 2, doesn't play their best game, gets a little gun shy, deer in headlights, and you don't let them build that chemistry with their wide receivers. I think that's where you get them. This team is super talented, and I don't really see them losing if they start getting into cruise control. But they won't be in cruise control by Oregon.
But the thing is, if they're not if some of these things don't pan out, like if that quarterback position doesn't pan out, if they don't make some monster improvements in their secondary, and if the linebacking isn't at least close to what it was last year, I don't think who knows what they could even look like right now. They look super talented, but it's if they go into a Penn State game and there's some issues at quarterback and they're not really scoring or at the level they need to, because I think they're going to give up points for sure. Like they gave up a ton of points to last year, they were giving up points. So I think you could definitely see some teams like Penn State, Michigan, who have talent, give them a pretty good crack.
I mean, but the thing is, the thing is, like, I think they'll have the quarterback spot figured out by then. Like, say CJ Stroud ain't it.
Yeah, that's fair that you
Quinn Ewers is probably, you think they're going to miss on 3 5-stars? And say he's not it. Javon Cord is probably going to be it. Or Kyle McCord or Jack Miller is probably going to be like, they have 4 guys who are like most teams would take as quarterbacks. And so like at some point they're going to figure out who's going to be that guy. And once they do, like that offense is going to be good. And I agree. The defense, how are you going to beat Ohio State is you're going to have to outscore them and expose the defense, but it's hard to outscore that offense if they have a quarterback who can play. And obviously there's question marks, but there's a lot of potential answers too.
There's big. I agree with that. It's great to have that much talent, but again, I do think you're relying on just 4 super young guys.
Yeah, that's I have 4 super young guys.
You have nobody that you could have any faith in right now.
No, I have plenty. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I have plenty of faith in Quinn Ewers and I have plenty of faith in CJ Stroud. I just like I have plenty of faith in JJ McCarthy. Just like I have plenty of faith in JJ McCarthy.
As a fan, but it's like you don't have Justin Fields coming back. That's
you've seen freshmen.
I mean, it's great.
True freshmen can come in and play. We've seen it too much now that it was like that big of a deal. We see true freshmen come in and throw the rock and sling it at high levels. Like I'm not too worried about that. And so
we'll see.
I'll answer to close out. I'll answer what I think. I think obviously their ceiling is a playoff team. I don't necessarily, unless they really hit on a CJ Stroud or Quinn Ewers is like a Justin Fields, I think they can win it because I think there's other teams like Alabama who aren't as good. Ohio State was clearly the second best team last year. And so if you catch a year that Alabama is not that good of a team,
I would wonder what them versus Georgia would have looked like.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But I think
Georgia with Jaden Daniels or not JT Daniels. JT Daniels.
Like, I agree. That's not a bad point, but I still think like Ohio State's obviously they're a top 4 team in my power rankings. They're a very good team. I think their floor is 2 or 3 losses because of what we talked about. Because maybe their quarterbacks just struggle. They're inexperienced and they struggle. And that back end struggles and the defense can't really pick up the offense. I think that's where you'll see them lose. And they have some not even tracking. It's just good teams they play. Oregon out of conference week 2 is tough. Penn State going on the road at Michigan and Indiana. Those are hard games. So I don't think they lose any more than 2 or 3. I think they'll win the Big Ten this year again, as much as I hate to say it. And we'll see if they become a playoff team because I think a 1-loss Alabama or a 1-loss Georgia could sneak in. But yeah, I see another big year for Ohio State. Very talented group. They've done a phenomenal job recruiting. And yeah, I would be very surprised to see them miss out on the playoffs this year.
See, I agree with you. I expect them to have a big year, but I would say in the past probably 4 or 5 years, it's been a lock. Like they're going to win the Big Ten. 100% probability, what they have coming back, and like that's kind of that. That's how I kind of think of them.
I see that's how I think of them. Any of it. I see this year's.
This is not even close to being as good of a team as they've had in the past, in my opinion. Like the past Ohio State teams that have come back were generally better positioned than this.
I think you're just like kind of ignoring the fact that they they lose a lot of guys and they only return 6 starters on offense and 5 on defense, but you can't just ignore them having a top 4 recruiting class pretty much the last 5 years. And so like they have guys who are going to come in and be ballers too. So it's like,
but it's not like necessarily the guys they're losing. It's the guys who are coming back are not as good as they've had in the past. Like there's some units that have big holes. Like I think their linebackers were good last year and they all went pro. But realistically, they had some problems. Like, watch that Northwestern game. There were some massive holes in terms of them being able to stop the quarterback run and cover. So, like, it's not like they were some perfect team last year.
Yeah.
Like, Northwestern played them very tough, and Northwestern they kind of are what they are, in my opinion. Like, just a really solid but somewhat pedestrian talent-wise team. So it's like, I think that what you're like, yes, they have talent, but they also have a fair amount of players coming back who have shown some very real problems on the field. And I think that's most notably in the secondary, in their interior line. And when you don't have a quarterback, which they have had the fortune of knowing that they have stars at quarterback for the past number of years, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, again, I agree with you. I certainly expect them to win the Big Ten, but I don't think I don't see it as a lock that it has been in the past. The past 5 years, I think it's just been like, all right, no point of even playing the Big Ten schedule because they're going to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we probably just evaluate Ohio State a little bit differently. I'm very high on this football team. But yeah, hey, sometimes the Rock Boys disagree. That'll do it for this episode. We appreciate you guys hanging in there and listening. And we'll be back with another preview with another team either tomorrow or the day after. So look out for that. And then, hey, 3 more weeks of college football. So we're going to start giving some picks and stacking some money. And we look forward to that. So y'all be cool. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.